Trade journals. All right, this is part of the Foundation series, and this was part of a larger presentation I've done on trade journals, but we're just going to do a basic simple thing and talk about a few ways to structure it. The whole purpose for trade journals is to become more conscious of ourselves, more self-aware of what we're doing. It's very hard to see outside of ourselves. It's easy to see what somebody else is doing, but it's hard to see what we're doing. So this is a way of recording, writing about that, watching ourselves, observing ourselves, teaching ourselves about ourselves. We have to look in the mirror. We want to be accountable and responsible for all of this. You can't work with what you don't see, and so this is a tool for doing that. There's a lot of ways of structuring your journal, and everybody's got a different situation in their life and a different brand of crazy. There's no one right way. Keep it simple. Stick to the principle of, you want to observe what you're doing, have a place to do some writing, and be a little bit accountable. Just stick to those principles and make it personal to you and let it evolve. You can do it any number of ways. Some 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I used to day trade and print out the chart at the end of the day and write notes on the back of it and put it in a 3-ring binder. That was my journal. So there's lots of ways you can do it. I use something called OneNote, but you can use anything. This makes it easy for me. You can organize a lot of information, make it searchable, linkable, whatever. Now keep in mind, this is about being ready and willing to take responsibility for every thought, feeling, experience we have, because we do choose them, and we want to see that. We want to see it all. We want to write it down. We want to see what's going on and be responsible for all that, because that's what shapes our experience, and our experience is what shapes our actions. And so if we want more effective trading actions, we want to see what's going on. You can't work with what you don't see. We always have to start where we're at. We always want to jump to our dreams about trading, but we have to start where we're at. We have to roll around in the mud, study, practice. A lot of times it's going to be ugly. My journal, looking at myself in the mirror, it's going to be ugly, right? So we're going to keep working towards more responsibility, more honesty, and, cut yourself some slack. It's not a place to beat yourself up. It's just a place to look. So I'm keeping it simple. I usually have a main tab in my journal, and this is like my admin section. All right, so I'll keep things like, handy reference materials like tick values and tick margins, my to-do lists. While I'm trading, I don't want to be worried about what I need to do. I'll jot them down, get them out of my brain. Different reference material you want to have handy. Contact info, like when the internet goes down and you're in a panic and you need to find the number for your broker. That kind of thing. So this is like my admin section. Trades, we talked about in the last Foundations post about how to do trade plannings. That goes in here. The majority of time, I would say, be spent in this section. And this is just one idea of how to structure it, all right? So this is where I spend my day with my journal, observing markets, what I'm doing every day, and then I'll do a weekly review. And just to give some idea, you can write down observations of what's going on during the day, how you're starting the day, so on and so forth, your analysis, any number of things. And so this is a daily place to live with your trading. Or if you're trading only a few times a week, same thing, just make it custom to what you're doing. But as you go pushing on your buttons while you're trading, you're going to begin to see patterns in yourself the same way we learn to see patterns in the market. As you go pushing on your buttons, you're going to see them. So I generally keep a little area here to make notes about that. Not to beat yourself up, but to make notes about that. And, any questions or research I want to do about markets. So a lot of my daily activity here will feed into other parts of the journal. So as I see patterns in myself, it'll go into an internal patterns section. I can keep track. As I have questions about markets and research, it might go into the research tab. As I start my day, I might, for instance, let's just look at the other day in my trading in the ES. As I start my day, I'm doing my analysis. I'm marking out some things. I'm getting connected to price, so on and so forth. I might write some things down. Gap wash, new swing broke, and then what? I'll take a snapshot of that, and that's where this comes in handy. Now I can come in here and just take a snapshot of all that. And during the day, this is also a place where you can write about price or whatever's going on with you. No rules here, okay? Just work towards it. So for instance, I might describe what price is doing in here. And as price is moving, trading can be boring too. We don't need to be busy all the time. But as price is moving, I might write this out. And this helps to bring clarity. Just the writing brings a certain amount of lets things fall out, right? Rather than just being emotionally reactive all the time. So I might say gap wash, zoom through, small swings down, right? Breaking swing. And maybe I'll put a time stamp on it, and as price moves I'll write and I'll ask questions to myself and about price, or write whatever you want in here. It's a good way to make a connection, tell the story of price. I give this as an exercise to students sometimes, every 5 minutes or so. Write what price is doing. Okay, it's testing the press here. It's testing that. It just made a new swing. And this helps us connect. So that's just a little exercise. But use this in any way you want. You can write about how you're freaked out about thinking about a trade anywhere in here. That kind of thing. Price testing the median line, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, I'll take snapshots. And at the end of the day, I suggest you invent sort of something of a ritual for yourself. Do something at the beginning of the day. Do something to close the day, right? Little opening, little closing. Do something at the beginning of the day to set yourself up, get your mind straight. And at the end of the day, write down your experience of trading. Just sum it up. Don't just beat the heck out of yourself or congratulate. Just sum up your experience, right from the heart a little bit of trading that day. Just the writing begins to loosen things and insights up. All right? And again, you structure this in whatever way you can. It's a good place to have. It's a good thing to have some place to express a little bit and to watch price and to get you connected to price, so on and so forth. And then this will be a daily thing. And then I'll do a weekly review, and maybe we can talk about that another time. If I do a trade, I usually put it in a separate tab. You can put it in the same tab if you want. It's up to you. But we went over trade sheets in the last post, and keeping it simple, how to make a trade plan, right? Why am I entering? Why am I putting my stop where I'm putting it? Why am I placing my target where I'm placing it? Why am I moving my stop? Why am I, right? Very simple. And so for here, I see the price is up. I see we just broke some swings, right? I'm watching the market. I'm thinking I want to get long, get a stop underneath here with a target. Somewhere up around new highs. I want to capture what I'm seeing, right? Whatever is influencing me. If I'm looking at this and that's influencing me, I want to capture that. All right? Don't lie to yourself. If you're all the way back here and using whatever, and that's influencing your little trade over here, catch it. If I'm just clean and looking at this and that's influencing me, then I'm going to catch it. And then I'll take a snapshot of all that. And that's the trade plan. And then, as the trade rolls on, and I do whatever I do, I'll take another snapshot of that. And you can keep this in the same tab here, but I usually separate it out and do a weekly review. So many interesting insights about markets, about yourself, will fall out as you begin to do some of this work. Now, there's liable to be resistance to being this responsible. But the truth is, in order to trade at the levels we're reaching for, we have to be willing to take responsibility for every thought, feeling, experience we have, as if we chose to have them, because we did. And so step into it as much as possible. A lot of people have resistance to being accountable at all, and that's understandable, right? It's a hard thing. And so you just take it in steps, but go in a direction. Over here, map, this is where you might want to sit down and think about your whole business plan, your whole trading business plan, and write out what you're doing, your account, what you're trying to do. Write the whole thing out. Write down whatever disciplines, etc. So for instance, when you see certain patterns, like you always cheap out your stop, or you always move your stop too soon, this will happen over and over. You'll do the same things. You will have something, I will have something. So when you see them, now you can create maybe a little discipline so you can learn from that. All right, that's what this whole thing's about, being more effective as a trader. Research, this is an interesting thing you can also do with your notebook and use it for. You can do your own research. All right? Research is to go about seeking. You don't need anybody. You need to just be able to look at a market. So for instance, this is what I teach. I teach how to read the language of price. And once you can make certain distinctions and read that language, you don't have to ask me if something works or something doesn't work. You just have to go look. So for instance, gap wash, right? I'll teach how to make this distinction in price. I'll teach you what a gap is, what a gap wash looks like. All right, see, boom, 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 boom. The seller, seller, seller zip through. Now, once you can make that distinction, you can go and collect and do research in your own experience to see what goes on with that. So I teach the language of price, swings, right? Balanced swings. If you can understand that, all right, balanced swings, same side, you can do some research on that. So here, like we have something I teach. A swing level press. All right. Two same size reaction leg swings. That expand. And so that's a distinction in price. So I'll teach the language. and it's got the three types of trade options. So once you can make that distinction in the language, all right, once you can make that distinction in price action, you don't need to ask me what happens. Now you can make that distinction and go look at as many examples as you can find and do your own research and take a snapshot. So for instance, this is a swing level press falling into a gap wash. You see the sellers show up, zoom, type 3 reverse trade. So in this particular context, that's what's going on. And so once you can make various distinctions, you can do your own, or you can just, if you're trading enough and you just look, you'll see things. You'll see things in price that you see over and over and over and over again. And you can do your own research on that kind of a thing. So for instance, if you're using median lines, right, and you can make the distinction of swings, and you see that, right, just like this press expanding, you can see that this one expands its impulse leg. What happens when you draw a median line off of this last particular swing? It projects out the expansion. Now, when you can start to do that, you can start to do research on every one of these, or whatever. It can be a single bar that you're doing research on, tails, outside bars, whatever. So anyways, and then you can keep track of them. And once you put your attention on something sometime during the week, guess what? You're going to see it again. There it is. You take it apart, you look at it, take a snapshot, and then maybe sometime in a couple of days you'll see it again. See, now you're teaching yourself, you're learning. This stuff is starting to sink into your bones. It'll add into your experience. It'll add into that whole feel of the rhythm of price. And that's what all of this is about. All the tools, everything else is to get a feel of the rhythm of price. And then we have to trade it. So anyways, that's a quickie on trade journals. Make it simple. Do as much as you're willing to do. It's about being accountable. Do a little bit of writing. Give yourself a place to express it all. See your patterns.